Okay, so here I am at the western trailhead of the Cloche Silhouette Trail. Going to be doing my second solo journey around the loop. I've done the section between the eastern trailhead and Silver Peak and back 3 times. That was prior to the trail being connected. There used to be the Bay Fin Trail and the Silver Peak Trail, but now it's obviously just one big loop, the Cloche Silhouette Trail. So anyway, I'm going to be going clockwise, and today's destination is H6 on Cave Lake. Drove through the night to get here, so a little bit tired. It's going to be a little slow and steady kind of pace. Thank goodness I don't have to go that far. Looking forward already to getting to camp and getting set up and just relaxing. So things you can look forward to, I guess, would be quotes of the day, some really bad jokes, watching the barbe blanche grow. That's the white beard for those of you who don't speak French. And you know, hopefully some spectacular views on what's probably one of the most gorgeous trails in all of Ontario. So looking forward to getting started, looking forward to the journey ahead, and hopefully things go well. It's a little cool this morning, about 12 degrees Celsius, but I'm good to go. And so quote for the day is, I head into the forest to lose my mind and find my soul. Don't know if you can see it or not. There it is. Helicopter. That was something else. Yeah, they flew right overhead, landed on Lumsden Lake, and then they just took off again in that direction. So I don't know what's going on. They must be looking for somebody. Really interesting. Anyway, I've been out just about an hour. This is the way down to H2, which is on Lumsden Lake, which I've never seen before. You can see it through the trees. So I'm going to meander my way down there and give you a view of Lumsden Lake while I take a little break. So this is the view from H2. Lumsden Lake. Never been down here before, but it's very pretty. Obviously, get a lot nicer when those, ooh, sorry about that. The old GoPro selfie stick had a mind of its own and slid right down. But when that foliage of those birches come in, it'll be very beautiful. But it gives you an idea of the rugged terrain of the old Cloche mountain range that I'll be hiking through over the next week. So down below me we've got a fire pit area right by the lake, and then if we turn around you can see more of the campsite up this way as well. A pretty decent area. So I didn't upload any videos last year, but just to let you know what was going on. The Wolfman and I, who, if you look at our Cloche 2020 trip, the Wolfman and I did the Lake Superior Coastal Trail, and to say that was a slog is an understatement. That trail is absolutely relentless. But we made it from the northern end, we bagged that, and went all the way down to Sinclair Cove, and then Wolfman had had enough. And I had done the section between Sinclair Cove and the end of the trail a couple of times, so to me I had seen the entire trail, so we hiked up the access road to Sinclair Cove back to the highway and tried to catch a ride from there. And we didn't have much luck, and we were at just crossing the bridge over the Agawa River, and a couple of young ladies who worked at the park actually turned around and came and picked us up, and we said, you know, thanks very much, but hope you don't mind the stench, because obviously after a week in the backcountry you can imagine what we smelled like. But they brought us back to the visitor center, and we were happy campers. And then last October my son Corey and I did the Algonquin double-double. We did the Highlands Trail and the Western Uplands Trail, and we did it during peak fall season, first week of October. The colors were spectacular, but man, did we have some rain. 14 hours I think the first night, and those trails were sloppy. The Western Uplands should have been called the Western Boglands Trail. I mean, there was just no way to avoid it. Your feet were soaked each and every day. But we had a great time. Unfortunately, the GoPro wasn't functioning for me correctly, so I'm glad to have it back, glad to have batteries at work, and glad to be sharing this experience with all of you. So, like I say, it took me about an hour to get here to H2, taking a little bit of a break, and then hopefully we can march from here through to H6 or fairly close to it. The Wolfman and Lee Majors will remember this bridge well, because it was totally underwater, about 3/4 of it underwater. We had to kind of either wade through the water or get on that first rung and kind of shimmy our way across. But it's bone dry 2 years later, and the reason why? Well, if you look over there, the beavers have been busy. They got a great big dam that's keeping that water level low. So, good for the hikers. Thanks, beavers. You know the old saying, if you're Canadian, show me your beaver. Sorry, couldn't resist. This is a good lesson for hikers of any experience level. The trail comes here and you think, oh my goodness, I gotta cross this? How in the world am I gonna get across that without killing myself? But instead of just barreling straight ahead, you take your time, you look, you walk down a little bit, and all of a sudden you see, oh, I can cross right here. Yep, just like life, it pays to take a second look before you barge headfirst into something and you end up someplace you don't really want to be. Well, I'm at home for the night, campsite H6 on Cave Lake. Aptly named, although you can't see it from this campsite. But if I pan around, obviously it's going to be blocked by the trees, but through there you can see a canoe, the blue through the trees. So just over that canoe there's a rock kind of face where there's a little small cave. It's visible from the other campsite on the lake, but not from this one. I stayed on H5 2 years ago. Thought I'd check this one out instead, and to tell you the truth, I wish I was back on H5. It wasn't much of a campsite, but it's better than this. I mean, the view is great, there's no question about that, but just in terms of trees for hammock setup, where I really like to be up here, it's all really rocky, so to get it pegged in isn't really going to work. So that means I've got to head down into that section over there and get things set up. But anyway, I'm just going to relax for a little bit. There's two things that I never come camping without. One is my camp chair, and the second is this wonderful spot device. This here is the lifeline to home. Let me just show you how it works. So you simply turn it on, wait for the light to start flashing. There we go. So now I can send all variety of messages. So where you see the wording like a text message, that lets whoever I have on the list of notification, right now my wife, and I get notification as well on my phone because I like to pin where I've been, you know, on the GPS. So when I press that, it lets them know that I've made it to camp okay, and that I'll check in again in the morning. And when I press the OK button, that's the one for the morning, so that way they know I made it through the night safe and sound, and I'll obviously check in when I make it to the campsite later in the day. And then there's the wonderful SOS button, where if I did run into dire straits, you know, where slip and fall, broken ankle, whatever, or I came across another camper who was in need of service, I can press that SOS button. It's going to alert the folks at 911 and get help in here ASAP to you know, get either myself or someone else out of a terrible situation. So all it requires is a little bit of open sky. So I'm just going to click there. And a green light should appear and start flashing, which it is. And it's picking up the GPS signal. I Gotta make sure it moves to a spot where it flashes green. Should work over here. It's clear sky above. Huh. Interesting. Well, I'll play with it, but the bottom line is once it starts flashing green, then it'll also flash the send button, and it takes about 20 minutes to send it, so you can do other camp chores, etc. So I'm just going to relax and you know, then do my camp setup. I'll show you what my hammock setup looks like, and we'll take things from there. I may have to restart this all over because it looks like it's having trouble picking up the GPS, but trust me, it does work, and it's worth every penny of its investment. As you may see in the video, the black flies are out. They have started to swarm, but they're not biting, thankfully. But who knows what the rest of the week will look like, because when they do start biting, I could look like I went 15 rounds of Muhammad Ali by the time I'm out of here. So God willing, they'll just keep being a minor annoyance. But lesson learned, always bring your camera with you no matter where you go. I was out searching for some wood for dinner, to make dinner, and lo and behold, I came across 2 mature white-tailed deer, 2 does. So of course I didn't have my camera or the GoPro with me, so all I could do was admire them as they kind of meandered around, and they took notice of me, but I didn't seem to bother them. So of course, you know, thinking of going back and getting my camera made me feel like Homer Simpson. No, pun intended. But I was going to show you the hammock setup. I was going to show you how I hang the bear bag, but right now I'm exhausted. I don't even know if I'm making any sense in my commentary. So I thought the better course of action would be to show you that when I'm more coherent. I left Amherstburg at 1:30, just after 1:30 a.m. I got here about 8:45. I was on the trail by 9:38. Reason it took a little longer to get on trail is because even though it's a loop, there's a western trailhead and an eastern trailhead, and they're separated by about a 15-minute walk. So I parked the car, I dropped the pack, I should say, off at the western trailhead, and then went and parked the car down at the eastern trailhead, so when I'm done, I don't have to make that walk with a pack on my back. And since I had the pack at the western trailhead and just drove the car down there, I didn't have to make it today either. See, always thinking. So right now, I got to collect a little more firewood, I think, so I've got enough water for dinner. But I am now in full relaxation mode. And thank you to, I'm not sure if it was my son Corey or my son-in-law Kevin. Well, I know Corey bought me the flask, and my son-in-law, I think, bought me some fine Night's Watch Scotch. So probably about half of this flask is going to get poured into my coffee cup, and I'm going to light a nice fine cigar and enjoy the scenic views that only Killarney Provincial Park can provide. So I will check in later. There's the fine Night Watch Scotch sitting there. Cigar in hand. Life is good. You know, somebody once asked me, is drinking in the backcountry alone a good idea? And as my good buddy George always says, you know, when I drink alone, I prefer to be by myself.